YouTube, I am back. It is your boy JSM801. I have not been on YouTube for, man, over a year. So I'm excited to be back. I finally got me someone that's trustworthy and someone I can count on to come and shoot my videos. So shout out to my man. I'll be doing a video introducing him to you guys. But today I have something cool, something I've been waiting to do, a fun project, and let me tell you about it. So my boy Gipper Finau hit me up, said that he's trying out for the US Open, said he needed some custom FootJoys. So shout out to Golf Galaxy out here in Salt Lake City for getting me the cleat in time. Let me go ahead and go through the products and tell you what we're doing today. So Gipper said he usually wears black and white. I think I'm going to add a little bit of satchel brown into this just because of the brown that's on the shoe. I'm going to be using a little bit of black and, of course, white cement from Angelus. And to start it all off, I'm going to be using some deglazer from Angelus. I'm going to be using some Bulldog, and you can get this at any of your local automotive stores, and some cotton balls. For the deglazer, I'm going to be using two different types of tape. I'm going to be using vinyl tape from AngelusDirect.com, and I'm going to be using some regular tape I got from like Lowe's. It's construction grade, I guess, and some gloves so I don't get the acetone on my hands, just for safety purposes. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first step of this customizing this cleat is going to be deglazing it, and all this is going to do is remove that top coat of wax or a clear coat, whatever you want to call it. That way the paint actually bonds to the leather and not the top coat. So the first thing I'll be doing is just using my cotton balls and some Q-tips to make sure that I just get inside the small crevices. And again, just using Angelus deglazer. I'm gonna go ahead and put my gloves on first. Safety purposes, I guess, for YouTube. Been doing this for like 20 years, haven't grown a third arm yet. But for this video, I'll go ahead and slap these on. All right, all I'm doing is just gonna rub like I'm cleaning the shoe with a cotton ball and make sure that I get every single area of the shoe. And I like to start one panel at a time. So I'm gonna do from this whole toe cap to the midsection of the shoe. And I'm just gonna make sure that I get it nice and even. Make sure that I get inside there. You might have to use a Q-tip. But again, guys, you're just trying to get this as good as you can because you want this leather paint to stick to the leather. I'm going to go ahead and finish the whole shoe, and then once I get it done, I'll be back. All right, so now that I got the shoe completely deglazed, sometimes I know that when you're doing a golf cleat, the tape doesn't stick to it. So a little tip is that I like to spray the Bulldog on before I tape because this will make the tape stick better. So I'm going to go ahead and spray it with 2 light coats, and then I'll start taping. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry for about 5 minutes, and then I'll do the second coat. All right. I got everything deglazed, and I put 2 coats of Bulldog on. It's completely dry. And again, the reason why I sprayed the Bulldog before is because it makes it easier for the tape to stick to the cleat. So I'm gonna go ahead and start taping now. Again, I'm gonna be using some Angelus Direct vinyl tape around the midsole, and I'll just be covering it up with some painter's tape. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm just gonna use small pieces. And I wanna keep this leather here. I don't wanna paint that at all, so that's where I'm gonna tuck my tape. And guys, the taping, I know a lot of people don't like to tape. Taping's the worst part. I hated this for the longest time, and then I just changed my mindset, changed my perspective. Now taping to me is an art form all of its own. That way when I peel this, there's less touch-ups, there's less mistakes, less overspray. So guys, take your time in taping. Really appreciate the process and just tape the shoe completely before you think even about painting. I know you can get ahead of yourself. You're just waiting, you're excited to get the custom done. So we start to skip out, and we don't do a good tape job, but just learn to appreciate this process. So I'm just gonna start taping this over, and then I'm gonna put some on the sock liner here. And because I wanna keep this lip white on this one, I just think it adds to the whole look of the cleat when it's done. And I'm just going to tuck that, and it'll look like that. I am going to leave the tongues white So I will be masking that off, but I'm gonna go ahead and finish this and I will be back. All right, so now we got it completely taped off, and I went ahead and wiped it down one more time just because I had something on my hands, and I resprayed it with Bulldog. And now I'm gonna go ahead and start spraying the black on the front of the toe. So just gonna put this straight into my airbrush guns. I use Masters, just Amazon $20 airbrush guns. They're perfect for what I use them for. I'm not drawing any faces. This way, if the gun gets clogged or if it's not working correctly, I can just throw it away and snag a new one real quick. So shout out to Masters for having amazing airbrush guns. All right. I call these snow drifts, and I just tuck this tape. All right, bend this tape. So what's going to happen is when I airbrush this paint is just going to fly off of that instead of on the back half of the shoe. Just another little tip. So I don't get any overspray, but let's go ahead and get started. First coat's going to be really light. I like to do the edges. Now that I got that first coat on there, really light, try to get it as even as you can. And I'm going to go ahead and wait a few minutes to let that dry. And because the coats are so clear, I'm not going to have to sit here and wait 10 minutes in between coats. This is only going to take a few minutes to dry. So while we do that, I'll be right back. All right, rule of thumb that I go by is less than 3 coats. 3 light coats. If you think of it about the paint as like a cardboard, if you grab a layer of cardboard, it's going to bend really easy. You grab another layer and add it to it, it's going to get harder and harder. That's what's going to happen to your paint. So keep your paint as thin as possible, but you want a nice even coverage. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay down my second coat. Again, just keeping them really light. And the second coat is going to cover and look a lot darker than the first coat. Now, because this leather is milled, you're going to want to make sure that you shoot from all angles because of the pattern in the leather. If you shoot one direction, you're going to leave the backside white and you're going to look like it has cracks in it. So make sure that you're shooting from all angles. Okay, that's my second coat. It does look great, but as you can see, it does have some parts of it where it is fading. So my third coat will make that completely gone. All right, now I'm going to be spraying the third and final coat, and this should be completely covered after this coat. Okay, that is it. Now I'm going to let this dry, and then we're going to tape off the next section, get ready for some more paint. All right, so we got the front toe cap completely painted. We got the tape removed off the alligator print. I am going to now do the back panel, and I'm going to be painting it gray and start doing some elephant print. So let's go ahead and get it taped off and prepped and ready to paint some gray. I'm going to be using white cement from Angelus Direct. And let's go ahead and get started. All right, we got the back panel completely taped off, and I'm gonna go ahead and load the white cement into one of my Masters guns and spray down the first coat. The gray will honestly probably only take 2 coats because I'm going to have to cover it with black to make sure that I get that elephant print. All right, so I got the first coat down. And again, guys, I'm not trying to get a complete coverage on the first coat. I want this coat to bond to the leather, and then the next coat will stick to this coat. So I'll go ahead and let that dry for about 4 to 5 minutes, and then we'll get started on the second coat. All right, our first coat of gray is dry, so I'm gonna go ahead and set the second coat. And again, I'm gonna keep it light because I have to spray another coat of black on this, and I don't wanna cover with a bunch of paint. So let's make sure that we get this covered with this second coat. All right, second coat is done. And it is very important when you're painting panels that you do get the edges, especially if they're rolled, because I like to make sure when I add my stencils, I actually tuck them underneath to make sure that it looks like it's factory wrapped. When they tuck that and then sew it, I want the same look even though it's painted. So be very, very careful when you paint these edges and make sure that you get them all. All right, now that we got the gray completely laid down, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to cut our stencil on our Caesar machine. So I'm gonna be doing elephant print. All right, got my elephant print stencil ready. I just went out and weaved all the negative out, and then I just put my transfer tape. This stuff is actually pretty easy. I know it can look confusing. It can look overwhelming to get a nice print, but it's actually really, really easy. And then we just want to line it up. So I'm just going to make sure that this covers completely. There we go. Just want to make sure this completely covers. Right there, we can get away with right there. I'm just going to lay this completely down. And don't worry if your stencil falls short. I'll show you what, because you can kind of see that there's a little bit missing there, but I'll show you exactly what I do to solve that issue. I'm just going to lay this down. This is probably the trickiest part of elephant print or any stencil, is just getting it exactly where you want it. You get your elephant print on your tape, your masking tape, it will stick really well to that and make this whole process a lot easier. I'm just rubbing this down, getting all this stenciled. And then what I'm going to do is, because I need a little bit of this stencil, I'm going to cut with an X-Acto blade just a section of this out. I'm going to use this as filler in the spot that I need it. So I'm just going to take a piece of that out and place it over here, and that's going to get this spot that it didn't completely cover. All right. Now that that's on there, I'm going to go ahead and start peeling off my transfer tape. And because it's stuck to that masking tape, this makes this process a whole lot easier than it would if I didn't make sure it was stuck to that. I can just press this on. Now I'll take this piece that I cut off and just line it up somewhere. That's the good thing about elephant print, is the design is so crazy that you can just line it up anywhere. I'm just going to peel this off. Voila, there it is. So that piece that I missed is right there. I'm going to go ahead and take the squeegee and I'm going to just make sure that it's pressed in this crease where the midsole meets the upper. And then same with the edges. Make sure that it's pushed all the way in. And this is why it was so important to make sure that you sprayed the edges with the gray so it looks like it's completely wrapped. And I'm just going to take my heat gun And I'm just gonna heat set it. And this is a semi-permanent stencil, so I will be removing it with heat as well. I'm just gonna make sure it's nice and tight so it doesn't have any leakage underneath. And it is always important to let your paint cure before you add stencils, but for this video's sake, we didn't have the time. So there'll probably be a little bit of touch-ups I gotta go through and do, but for the most part, you just wanna let this completely cure before you put any stencils on your paint. That's ready to paint. All right. That is how you get print laid on all the way around the shoe. I made sure that it was all completely tucked up around the leather sock liner, around the edges at the bottom. Make sure that it's completely pressed against it so there's no leakage. And if there is, guys, it's easy. Just use a detail brush and clean it up. No problem. So let's go ahead and get ready to paint this black. So we want gray elephant print.
White coats.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and let this dry before we peel this. And again, this is a semi-permanent, so I will be using heat to peel the stencil. If there's any imperfections, I will just be taking an Angelus detail brush and just making sure that the elephant print came out exactly how I want it to look. So we'll let this dry and we'll come back. All right, it's completely dry. I'm gonna go ahead and start removing some of this elephant print to make sure that it came out the way that I wanted it to. I'm gonna start by using some heat and a pair of tweezers and just peeling it off nice and slow. Okay, elephant print is looking good. So now that I'm done with 90% of the shoe, I'm gonna go ahead and start taking out all the tape off the midsole. And what I'm looking for is just any kind of slight imperfections that I can touch up with either a small detail brush or clean it off with a brush and rubbing alcohol. So I'm gonna go ahead and start doing that now and I'll be right back. Now that we got all the tape off, we got the stencil completely off, I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna make sure that I didn't miss anything, over spray, under spray, whatever the case may be. But let's go ahead and get started. So first thing, I'm just gonna put a piece of tape down, and I like to just put a little bit of black paint and then a little bit of the gray paint. And then I got two detail brushes. So I got one for the black and one for the gray. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the black first, and I'm just gonna go through the shoe and make sure that all the edges are nice and straight, that there's no underpaint. So I'm gonna go ahead and start doing that. And then once I'm done, I'll come back and do the gray. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start touching up the gray, making sure this elephant print is on point. Nothing worse than bad elephant print. I'm just correcting if there's any underspray, if you know, doing the video rushing, not letting the paint cure all the way. I'm just going to make sure that this is nice and solid elephant print. So we got the elephant print all touched up. We got the front toe panel all touched up, cleaned up. The next step is going to be painting the gator print on this one. And I've decided to use a little bit of dark taupe from Angelus just to kind of bring out the saddle trim and the sock liner on this one. So let's go ahead and get started. Now that we got it up completely taped off, I'm gonna go ahead and start painting it. And I'm just gonna lightly spray this. I don't know what this color is gonna look like. I'm not even sure I wanna make it completely beige or taupe, whatever color that was. But I'm just gonna start out slow. Let's see what it looks like. All right, got the first light coat. I'm not liking how it's gonna turn out as far as being a light coat. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and make it a solid stripe. I think it's gonna turn out really great. So we'll let this dry and I'll go ahead and put coat 2 and coat 3 on. We got coat 2 and 3 laid down. I actually like the color a lot. I think it's gonna look really good next to this white. So I'm just gonna go ahead and peel this just to give me an idea of what it's gonna look like. I'm gonna go ahead and get this tape completely peeled. I'll do some touch-ups and we'll see the finished result. So now that I got all the touch-ups done, I'm gonna go through and make sure there's no paint where it's not supposed to be. So I got a little jar and I just put some rubbing alcohol. This is 90%. I'm just gonna go through and I'm gonna make sure to wipe off all the extra paint. All right, we got everything painted. We haven't added a clear coat yet. I thought one final touch. I'm gonna go ahead and place Gipper's logo. I'm gonna put it on the back heel panel here. And I haven't decided what color I'm gonna go with yet, but I'm just gonna get them on here and then we'll get them painted. So I'll be right back. As I got the stencils on, I'm gonna put Gipper's logo on the heel panel. Didn't know what color I was gonna do it, but I just decided I am gonna do it in gold. Because if you know the Finau last name here in Utah is just like royalty. So I think gold is the perfect color. So let's go ahead and get it loaded and get it sprayed. All right. All right, let's get this sprayed real quick. To this. One final coat of gold. All right, go ahead and get these peeled. There it is. The Gipper Finau logo in gold. And that is Angelus 18 karat gold. The last thing I'll need to do is go ahead and clear coat these and lace them up, and we are done. All right, we are now ready to throw a top coat on this, which is going to protect the paint, keep it from scratching, keep it from smudging. So yeah, let's go ahead and apply that. I'm gonna do 2 even coats and call it a day. Go ahead and let that dry on its own. I'm not going to use a heat gun. Just let it completely cure. I'll use a second shoe. All right, guys, we are all finished up. I got them laced up. I love how the white laces look in these. Guys, I honestly love painting FootJoys. This is my second one I ever did. Did it for some of the royal family in the golf world. Let me know what you think of them in the comments. Again, guys, I'm back on YouTube. Give me a follow if you don't mind. Check out all the new content I'll be putting out. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.